We've got great deals on living and dining room sets, appliances, electronics, and smart devices, and more. Shop today with no cash using Quartz Ready Finance, 3 to 48-month payment plans available. Shop in-store or online at shopquartz.com. Come see what's new and take advantage of these great deals only at Quartz, bringing value home. Conditions apply.
Morning or celebrating lives. Whether it's a birthday, a wedding anniversary, or some memorable occasion, or the anniversary of the passing of the dearly departed, Hot 7 TV will create a moving video tribute of that special person, showing how much he or she meant to you. Treasured memories, unforgettable moments. Share them with the world and repeat the airing as often as you'd like. Help keep your loved one's memory alive forever in the minds and hearts of all who care. In loving memory, celebrating lives. Contact us at telephone number 452-6040 or email us at inlovingmemory@caribbeanhottv.com.
A young man from Bagatelle is dead. Calls on the public to not stigmatize his vehicle accidents along the Texas Highway. From Shannon welcomes the scrutiny of its one man is in police custody following the shooting death of the wife of a police officer.
Look out for the midday news with Daniela Edwin on Hot 7 TV.
Hey St. Lucia, Dylan Edwin here, national record holder for St. Lucia. I invite you to join Shannon LeBourne show Good Morning St. Lucia on Hot 7 TV every morning. Now I'll see you at the finishing line.
Welcome back. Thursday, December the 8th, 2022. I'm moving back in time as we move forward. We're headed towards the festive season, Christmas. Indeed, the 8th of December, today, Thursday. Thanks for staying with us. We must apologize to you, our viewers, advertisers, and followers. We had a short break in continuity of fault at our Mont Fortune studios in Castries. Technicians have rectified and we're back on the go this morning. We continue up until 9 a.m. We must inform you the full interview with Dr. Thompson Fontaine available now on our YouTube channel in HD. Good Morning St. Lucia. Yesterday here in Dominica, the Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit was sworn in yet again after leading his Dominica Labour Party to a 6th consecutive election win here in the Commonwealth of Dominica. The swearing-in ceremony started just about 4 p.m. yesterday in State House, downtown Roseau, and the oath was administered by the President of Dominica, Anthony Savre. We'll now hear from him during his presentation yesterday. He also spoke to the issue of electoral reform.
Before calling on the outgoing Prime Minister to take the oath of office for a new term as Prime Minister, I would wish to take a few moments to address to the people of Dominica. We have just come through an intense political campaign, and notwithstanding the fact that the parliamentary opposition decided not to officially participate in the election and not to nominate candidates for the poll, we nevertheless had 45 candidates nominated to contest the poll. 21 Labour Party candidates, a record 19 independent candidates and 5 candidates from Team Unity Dominica. The pre-election day campaigning had all of the usual meetings and rallies and walks and marches, but we did not see a repetition of the regrettable incidents which occurred in the lead-up to the 2019 poll, nor the violence on election day itself. I therefore wish to congratulate all the stakeholders in this election for the peaceful conduct of the polls. I wish to congratulate the Chief of Police, his officers, and other ranks of the police force for their vigilance and reassurance to the public at large that the police could be relied upon to ensure that all those who wished to vote would be free to do so without fear of intimidation. I wish to thank the Electoral Commission and the Chief Elections Officer and his staff for ensuring that all that was necessary to be done was done to ensure a free and fair conduct of the poll. I wish to thank the political parties for ensuring that on election day, their members and supporters heeded the admonition of the police and that there were no reports of incidents likely to interfere with the conduct of the poll. I wish to thank the teams of election observers from the Commonwealth Secretariat, the Organization of American States, CARICOM, and the Latin American Council of Electoral Experts for their presence and observance of the process, and look forward to their report. Finally, I wish to thank the people of Dominica for exercising the hard-won constitutional rights to vote for the candidates of their choice to represent them in Parliament and to form the next government. I wish to offer congratulations to all those who offered themselves as candidate for this election, and in a special way to congratulate all 21 candidates who were elected to serve in this 11th Parliament as members of the House of Assembly. They will be joined by 5 senators appointed by the President on the advice of the Prime Minister, and 4 senators appointed by the President on the advice of the Leader of the Opposition. I am aware that the issue of electoral reform is still a matter which is unresolved. I therefore look forward to the report of Sir Dennis Byron on this matter, which has loomed over us through several election cycles. I welcome the assurance given by the Honorable Prime Minister last night, after the results of the elections were announced, that he would ensure that all stakeholders would be engaged in consultations to review the report and recommendations by Sir Dennis, including the Commonwealth Secretariat and the OAS, and that once acceptable draft legislation is agreed upon on this matter, a bill will be brought before Parliament for its consideration. Beyond the question of electoral reform, this new Parliament and government will be confronted and challenged by all of the developmental issues which we as small island developing states must face and overcome, in addition to the special challenges posed by our physical size, geographic location in the hurricane belt, small population, and our geology and topography. Mr. Prime Minister, I believe that you will be the only Prime Minister in the Caribbean history to have served 6 consecutive terms as Prime Minister and victories. Congratulations to you, sir.
The head of state in the Commonwealth of Dominica, he is the Excellency Anthony Savre, the President of Dominica, delivering the oath and remarks at yesterday's swearing-in ceremony for the Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit. That activity taking place at State House just about 4 p.m. yesterday. Lasted for about an hour and a half thereabout. So the Prime Minister's ruling party, the Dominica Labour Party, has 19 seats. You know by now 2 seats to the independent. Did you know by chance, did you know that the independent candidate for Salisbury, I had it on yesterday, Ms. Jasmine Paul, did you know that she's actually married to a St. Lucia national? Just to sort that information would be of intrigue to you. Again, continue to join us in congratulations to her, Jasmine Paul, the Rep, the Member of Parliament for Salisbury. She's actually married to a St. Lucian national. This morning on the platform, we'll also hear from the Member of Parliament for Marigot. He's an independent candidate who was successful. Mr. Samora Alexander will be my guest shortly. And then I'll have a former government minister just about 8:10 this morning. Let's now go back into State House, where the Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit was sworn in yesterday afternoon. We now hear from the Prime Minister, who was sworn in for 6 consecutive times.
Thank you. Let me first of all recognize our President, His Excellency Charles Savre, and his wife, Mrs. Savre, my wife, Honorable Melissa Skerrit, and my children, Isabella and Dimitri, my mother and my aunt, Honorable Joseph Isaac, Speaker of the House of Assembly, Honorable Reginald Austri, Senior Minister, my other honorable members of Cabinet, elected parliamentary representatives, Your Excellencies, members of the Diplomatic and Consular Corps, Bahamas, Honorable Perry Christie, who is heading the OF. Ms. Corinne Prevost, the Secretary to the Cabinet, Permanent Secretaries, Mr. Carlos Charles, Leader of Team Unity Dominica, Dr. Thompson Fontaine, Leader of the United Party, Pastor Samuel Augustine, Monsignor Eustace Thomas, Pastor Peter R. Augustine, Pastor and distinguished guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, friends all, good afternoon and welcome. I'm happy to see all of you present. Though not my first occasion, this is a very special swearing-in ceremony for me personally. The Dominica Labour Party took its case to the people of Dominica and was rewarded yesterday, December 6, with a resounding victory in elections that I am confident shall be deemed credible, free and fair, reflecting the will of the people of Dominica. I sought a fresh mandate to propel the rebound of Dominica and its economy from the ravages of the COVID-19 pandemic, natural disasters, and ongoing global acts of terror and economic warfare. To me, this is the ultimate expression by the people of Dominica of their continued confidence in the philosophy, policies, and programs of the Dominica Labour Party. I wish to assure voters, residents, and citizens at home and abroad that we are eternally grateful for this show of support and shall strive to honor and meet their expectations. Your continued support has given this government the opportunity to pursue with vigor the national reset I indicated in my address to the nation on November 6, when I announced the calling of general elections in Dominica. I am especially heartened that in the midst of a slew of contributing factors, such as the ongoing pandemic and natural migration of residents, as a consequence of the social and economic fallout from various disasters, our party still received approximately 87% of the votes it secured in the 2019 general elections in the 15 seats contested. And I am confident, had there been a contest in the 6 seats, we would have surpassed what we got in 2019. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I have set forth very clearly our priorities in this new term. We shall accelerate resolution of challenges besetting residents of the eastern and southeastern communities adversely impacted by the recent heavy rains and the disaster that this precipitated. And of course, we have to relocate and resettle a number of families in this part. We shall forge ahead with the construction of the international airport, as well as finalize arrangements for the building of a new passenger and cargo terminal. We are committed to maintaining and expanding benefits to the elderly and providing new opportunities for education and training for our young people. Government must be responsive, more efficient, and businesslike in our engagement with the public. And I'm going to say to the Secretary of the Cabinet that each week, every head of department shall report on their engagement with the public. Requests for government approvals and permits take way too long, and that shall stop in this new government. So this term of office shall be laser focused on achievables, because time is of the essence. It is my intention to address the nation on the evening of Monday, December 12th, to reveal the composition of the new executive arm of government, as well as key appointments to postings in Dominica and abroad. The new cabinet of ministers will be sworn into office on Tuesday, December 13th at the State House. Citizens, friends, and residents, I am truly humbled by this opportunity to resume and properly conclude my stint of national service in this capacity. I want you to know and understand that wherever life shall take me and whatever it shall bring me, I shall always remain an ambassador for the growth and development of Dominica. And I underscore, a true ambassador. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you once again for this expression of confidence, and I pledge to do all in my power to propel our glorious nation to sustain growth, progress, and prosperity for all in a peaceful and idyllic environment. I want to take this opportunity again to congratulate all those who participated in the democratic process of elections by nominating themselves as candidates. I will say to the nation that in an effort to unify the country under the rubric of one people, one vision, one Dominica, I shall meet with the two independent candidates who won the elections in their respective constituencies and all candidates who contested the 2022 elections. As part of a series of such engagements, my hope is that they shall accept my invitation to meet. I will also meet with the leader of the United Party thereafter. And our hope also is that the invitation will be accepted. Our country requires all of us to be at the service of our people. The internecine political ramblings of our country must come to a stop. There are way too too many brother against brother and sister against brother. This country is too small. And I will do everything in my capacity as Prime Minister to ensure that we can close the gap and focus on the matters which affect and are important to the people of Dominica. And so this is my solemn commitment. And I shall use the remaining time in this office to ensure that we can close the gap in this country. But I can only do what I have control over. It is left to others to accept my outstretched hand and to hold it tightly so that we can walk together in the service of God. And I will do it. And so I am very, very humbled to be here and have been sworn by His Excellency President to yet another term to lead this country. There are challenges, but we have surmounted challenges. People thought that we would never recover from Hurricane Maria. And those who had the slightest impression that we could said it would take us more than 20 years. And our country, we are a resilient people. And we must never let the world believe that we are a country where people do not live as one, in peace and harmony, in sisterhood and brotherhood, and that we are associated with any violence and so on. This is not the Dominica way. Ours is one of hospitality, love, and affection for each other, being truly our neighbor's keeper, you know, and so we need to work hard at this. And of course, the clergy will have a great role to play in this. I believe that the clergy in Dominica needs to be united for one purpose: shepherding people to heaven. And leave the politics to people like me. Let us pray for the nation and follow the guidance that the Lord has provided us in this very and most important book, the Holy Bible. And I want to say to parents, we also have to be more responsible in caring for children. We cannot abdicate our responsibility to somebody else. And I want to say to all of us that we have to do some introspection and to determine where we're falling short and what we need to do to improve on our commitment to our country. Dominica needs all of us, and the national reset I'm talking about will speak to all of these issues, and we'll have serious engagement. We cannot work 8 hours a day anymore. Why should we be sleeping for 16 hours and only work for 8? And subtract lunch and breakfast, and we're really talking about 5 hours a day. The Bible cautions us against sleeping, about the love of sleep. I believe it says that he who is a lover of sleep, poverty shall visit you. And so we don't want poverty to visit us. And so I want to thank all of you for this opportunity to lead our country for yet another term. And thank you for being here. May God bless you. May God bless our country. Thank you.
The presentation there by the Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, the Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of Dominica, at yesterday's swearing-in ceremony. Prime Minister Skerrit giving his solemn commitment that he will get it done. I'm sworn in for 6th time as Prime Minister. As you heard during the presentation, the new cabinet of ministers will be announced in a state address next week, Monday, and the cabinet expected to be sworn in at State House on Tuesday of next week. The Prime Minister also saying in his presentation that during this term he will be focused on, laser focused, that is, on achievables and deliverables, as time is limited. So interesting times ahead for the Commonwealth of Dominica. Prime Minister Skerrit has said on countless occasions that he's preparing to make his exit from elective politics, and during his presentation at the swearing-in ceremony, he says that no matter where life takes him after he demits office of the Prime Minister, he will continue to be an ambassador for the Commonwealth. That's the Prime Minister of Dominica, Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, speaking there. We are receiving information this morning of a homicide in St. Lucia, another homicide on the island of St. Lucia, this time in the community of Dennery. We will share the details with you as they unfold shortly. We have received the image of the deceased, who has since been identified as Sean. He was killed in his residence in Dennery, taking the island's homicide toll again upwards. We'll have the details for you shortly, and we're also receiving information this morning. A few minutes ago, St. Lucian police are on the go this morning, mounting an assault into criminal activity. We'll share those exclusive videos. Massive police patrol, massive police operation currently on the way in downtown Castries. Two of us next will share the details on the break-in homicide in Dennery and that massive police operation now underway in Castries, Chaussee Road to be exact. We'll be back in just a bit. Good morning, St. Lucia is a vibe at sunrise. My name is Shannon LeBourne.
It's the most wonderful time of the year, and you can find the season's best at Court. Save up to 50% store-wide, plus get free gifts with select purchases. Get the best brands, best prices, and more. Shop today with no cash and have 90 days to make your first payment, and choose your payment term from 3 to 48 months. The season's best is at Court, bringing value home. Special conditions apply. Offer ends December 31st, 2022.
Mourning a loss? Hot 7 TV wants to help you celebrate the beautiful memory of your loved one with In Loving Memory, celebrating lives. Whether it's a birthday, a wedding anniversary, or some memorable occasion, or the anniversary of the passing of the dearly departed, Hot 7 TV will create a moving video tribute of that special person, showing how much he or she meant to you. Treasured memories, unforgettable moments. Share them with the world and repeat the airing as often as you'd like. Help keep your loved one's memory alive forever in the minds and hearts of all who care. In Loving Memory, celebrating lives. Contact us at telephone number 452-6040 or email us at inlovingmemory@caribbeanhottv.com.
A young man from Bagatelle is dead. Calls on the public to not stigmatize his fatal accidents along the Texas Highway. From there, SHANNON welcomes the scrutiny of its CIA. One man is in police custody following the shooting death of the wife of a police officer.
Look out for the midday news with Daniela Edwin on Hot 7 TV.
Yo, Wagwan Massive, this is your boy, Moto there, and it's all about Good Morning St. Lucia, vibes at sunrise, with SHANNON, LEBOURNE, yeah man, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m, the thing is always lit on Hot 7 TV, you don't know. Moto endorsing the vibe, you don't know. What she like, eh? She like the chicken on the rice, chicken and rice.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us. News coming in this hour. St. Lucia has recorded yet another homicide. We've been off island for the past few days. What's it now? 70, 71, 69. It's definitely out of hand and a matter of national concern. The crime crisis on our 238 square mile St. Lucia. Gun violence continues. This morning we have exclusive footage of police officers in downtown Castries, a massive operation currently underway. Stay with us, we'll share that information with you. But if my producers are ready at the morning, we can put up the image of the victim. Right now, the victim of last homicide, that homicide occurring in January, just after midnight today, Thursday, November the 8th. Don, is the image up, correct? Producers are saying the image is up. We extend our condolences to the family, friends of the deceased. He has been identified as Sean, and the information coming in at this moment, he was shot and killed in his yard a little after midnight today, Thursday, the 8th of December 2022, increasing the island's homicide rate again. And we'll confirm the exact figure. We've received information over the past 72 hours of number of violent incidents and perhaps one fatality related to last weekend's candle vigil shooting. We'll update you as the information is available and confirmed by the relevant sources. But Sean is the latest homicide victim on the island of St. Lucia, only identified at this time by his first name. Once more information becomes available, we will provide the updates to you here on the platform. Good morning, St. Lucia. Daniel Edwin, I'll also have more at 6:45. Dan, thanks so much. Let's take it down. As we said to you, there is a massive police operation now underway in downtown Castries. Just hold on a bit, Don, I'll cue when we want it on. The police are pushing back this morning, and they're trying to get a grip of what has become a national crime crisis on St. Lucia. Just on Monday of this week, you would have heard from the police commissioner, Ms. Crusita Descartes Pelius. She spoke during the presentation of some vehicles to the RSLPF by the Royal St. Lucia Police Force, sending at that time a strong message to the criminals that they will be found and dealt with. Was that strong message heard, St. Lucia? This morning we're receiving news of another homicide in Dennery. Don, we can now scroll the video. Exclusive images now coming on. A massive police operation in downtown Castries. It's on, correct, Don? Just alert me once it's on, because we're here in Dominica. It's a live program. It is on. The police are pushing back this morning, as you can see. St. Lucia, members of the SSU, the Special Service Unit, patrolling, and it looks like they're pushing back in an effort to take back the streets. We'll continue to have the updates for you. Don, keep those images on. Share your comments of support for the efforts of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. Be mindful, the police have alerted the citizens that they will be conducting spot and traffic checks at various locations around the island. So be mindful of those, and you're asked to cooperate with the Royal St. Lucia Police Force and the traffic officers conducting those operations. Be supporters and be prepared to present your driving information when you are asked to do so. Images now, the police taking back the streets. Dan, thanks so much. Excellent work at the Mon sharing those images with us. We'll continue to update you as the situation unfolds. We extend a warm good morning and greetings to the women and men, hardworking officers of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. They have been under pressure for the past few weeks Again, their resources being stretched as a result of that homicide recorded in Dennery. Our information is it was a targeted killing. Yet again, the young man named Sean was attacked and targeted, shot and killed within his yard, his residence in Dennery, just after midnight today, Thursday, the 8th of December. So the police are trying to push back. We will continue to monitor the efforts of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force as they try to get the crime situation under control. Let us know the latest updates once you have it. We will also verify the information that you share with us. Tomorrow, Friday, we will preview all the homicide victims recorded so far for the year. We have the names, we have the dates of the incident, and the location. Thank you to the Royal St. Lucia Police Forces Communications Unit for providing us with that information. As we continue to monitor the national crime crisis, we will pay tribute to all who have been killed by violent means on tomorrow's program. We'll scroll through an exhaustive list, 68 plus, perhaps 70 now, with this latest incident in Dennery. Join us tomorrow. Be sure to stay with us for that. We'll take a short commercial break. When we come back, we will do the word of the day, the financial tip, as we prepare for my next scheduled guest, a former government minister here in Dominica. He should be on with us just about 8:10 this morning. Still some time to go. Continue to remain with us. Good morning, St. Lucia. Happy holidays.
It's the most wonderful time of the year, and you can find the season's best at Court. Save up to 50% store-wide, plus get free gifts with select purchases. Get the best brands, best prices, and more. Shop today with no cash and have 90 days to make your first payment, and choose your payment term from 3 to 48 months. The season's best is at Court, bringing value home. Special conditions apply. Offer ends December 31st, 2032.
Mourning a loss? Hot 7 TV wants to help you celebrate the beautiful memory of your loved one with In Loving Memory, celebrating lives. Whether it's a birthday, a wedding anniversary, or some memorable occasion, or the anniversary of the passing of the dearly departed, Hot 7 TV will create a moving video tribute of that special person, showing how much he or she meant to you. Treasured memories, unforgettable moments. Share them with the world and repeat the airing as often as you'd like. Help keep your loved one's memory alive forever in the minds and hearts of all who care. In Loving Memory, celebrating lives. Contact us at telephone number 452-6040 or email us at inlovingmemory@caribbeanhottv.com.
A young man from Bagatelle is dead. Calls on the public to not stigmatize his fatal accidents along the Bedford Highway. From dead, Shannon welcomes the scrutiny of its CIA. One man is in police custody following the shooting death of the wife of a police officer.
Look out for the midday news with Daniela Edwin on Hot 7 TV.
This is the 2022 Power Soca Wonder First, inviting you to tune into Hot 7 TV. Good morning, St. Lucia. Big up. Now let's spend it. No lawyer can defend it. Can be broke if she buys it. She must eat all your money. Because God made man, man made money. God make woman to eat man money.
Welcome back on this Thursday, December the 8th, the eve of the weekend, and the issues remain the same. We are dealing with a national crime crisis on St. Lucia. If we have to do some comparison, I'm told the rate is now at 69. Unconfirmed reports. We are on standby from information received on a victim of last weekend's drive-by shooting in Babonneau. Once that information is confirmed, we will update the numbers, but 69, I'm told, is the current homicide toll for the year. We're broadcasting from Dominica. Let's do some comparison. So far for 2022, the island of Dominica has registered 16 homicides, as opposed to us over in St. Lucia, 69 so far for the year 2022. We can share some other regional figures with you momentarily, but let's now hear from the island's police commissioner, Ms. Cressida Descartes-Pellius. She spoke on Monday following the receipt of some new vehicles donated by the office of the Prime Minister. Let's now hear from the island's police commissioner.
In emphasizing the commitment of law enforcement to fighting the scourge of crime on island, Police Commissioner Pellius has assured that the RSLPF is putting tougher measures in place to fight lawlessness. This as the pattern of deadly violence continues over the weekend, with a total of 16 people gunned down in separate incidents. Of that number, 3 fatalities are being reported. At the height of a killing spree that continues to yield unprecedented figures in homicides per week and the latest mass shooting, Pellius has appealed to the public to be patient as the RSLPF's crime-fighting strategy unfolds.
Let me assure you that at this moment, I would like to extend my sincere condolences to the families of the victims of this homicide throughout the country. We are putting measures in place, tougher measures, to deal with the scourge of gun violence in this country. Be patient. In the coming days, you will see the actions of the police as it relates to this crime in this country.
Asked about investigations into a shooting of 2 foreign nationals in Soufrière that resulted in 1 fatality, Pellius stressed that the details would be disclosed in due course. The men, who had been residing in St. Lucia for several years, were shot at a restaurant on the southwestern town.
In due course, we will let you know information relating to the citizens of the persons who were involved in the homicide in Soufrière. At this moment, I cannot give you the information, but soon you will be getting this information.
While the commissioner has skirted questions raised about the effectiveness of the crime hotline and whether intel from the toll-free service has been yielding positive results, she has, however, made a plea for the public to assist the police.
The crime hotline 555 is quite functional, and at this moment, let me implore members of the public to give the information to support us in our fight against crime, to make St. Lucia a better place. Crime is everyone's business, not that of the police alone. We need all hands on deck. It's a multifaceted issue, and we need all agencies to work together with the police to solve the issues of crime in this country.
Reporting for the Hot 7 TV News, I am Kareem Nelson.
Welcome back. Our time just about 2 minutes before 7 o'clock here in Dominica. Same time in Castries and across the Eastern Caribbean region as well. So we just heard from Police Commissioner Cressida Descartes-Polius speaking there during what was a Kareem Nelson report on Monday of this week. She spoke during a presentation ceremony or following a presentation ceremony of some new vehicles for the Royal St. Lucia police force. In just a bit we will hear from Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre, who also spoke during that exercise on Monday of this week. We go up until 9 o'clock this morning. We have to share with you the word of the day, the financial tip as well. And then just about 8:10 this morning, I'll have a special interview with a former government minister here in Dominica. Continue to stay with us for that. Downey, if we are prepared with the report from Prime Minister Philip Pierre on Monday, perhaps you just alert me. If we are prepared, Don, I would like to go with that next. Prime Minister Philip Pierre and his administration continuing its efforts to invest in hardware for the police force. On Monday of this week, the police received 2 new vehicles, complements the office of the Prime Minister. Those vehicles are expected to aid them in the fight against crime. Don, I think it is prepared based on the signals that I'm receiving from you. So let us now hear from Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre, who is commenting as part of this news report.
The Prime Minister has listed the interventions by his government to empower lawmen and women in their attempts to arrest crime. Among them is the delivery of vehicles and other technological tools such as drones to assist with intelligence policing. In addition, the Prime Minister stressed government's commitment to putting more boots on the ground with the introduction of additional personnel. Within the coming months, the Prime Minister says the government will find the resources to employ at least 30 new officers to the ranks of the force. He stressed that as policymakers, the government is resolute in finding solutions to the crime situation while the police do what they have to do.
We are doing what the policymakers must do. My job as Prime Minister is to make the tools available to create the enabling environment and to make the policy decisions that will help the police force to do what they have to do. And their job is to do what they have to do. And we support them 100%, but I will not be making any wild statements.
The Prime Minister stated that the resource allocation to the RSLPF will gradually increase in the coming months in order to break crime-fighting barriers.
You will see in this budget many initiatives for national security, but I call on the members of the police high command that they are going to be made accountable. They've got the full support of the government, but they have to be accountable, and they have to have the courage and the discipline to weed out members among them who are not doing a proper job. We need courage and we need discipline. We have to do it. So my message is, let us work together to deal with the issues we have.
The Prime Minister reiterated that crime is everybody's business and that there is no room for taking political potshots over the social issue.
There is no time to believe that you have the government in a weak underbelly, so squeeze them because the government. The government is not weak. The government is strong. The government is stronger than ever. The government is stronger than ever because the government has the resolve, the government has the discipline, and the government will put resources in combating crime in this country. So we're not weak, we are stronger as ever. And every member in this cabinet is fully behind the police force and condemns crime, every member in this cabinet. And we show it by our presence, and we show it by our actions. We show it by not saying useless words. That is how we show it.
Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre showing his commitment there by not just sharing useless words, continuing to invest in the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. More vehicles were donated this past Monday. Reliable sources just confirmed the homicide toll now stands at 70 for the year 2022 thus far. The latest incident occurred just after midnight today in Dennery. We are continuing to receive information. As the information comes in, we will share it with you. But the Dennery homicide appears to be another targeted killing. 70 now, the homicide total. We're here in Dominica, where so far this island has recorded 16 homicides. If you live in St. Lucia, or if you have interest in St. Lucia, a question which continues to be heard and to be asked loudly by many special interest and concerned citizens, that question: what is going on?
In the land these days, I want to know what is going on. Oh, I call to the ancient of days. Tell me what is going on with the youths in the land these days. I want to know what is going on. Oh, I call to the ancient of days. Yes, I see violence and pain everywhere. Not for little youths live like they don't care. Marijuana smoke and blaze everywhere. Gunshots bursting in the streets, can't you hear? Will somebody tell me what I've really gone wrong? Jesus Christ alone we know we can depend on. Violence and pestilence in all the streets, and can a little youth in the ghetto live long? Tell me what is going on with the youths in the land these days. I want to know what is going on. Oh, I call to the ancient of days. I see shame and distress indeed. I see kids who are raising up kids. I see fathers molesting their daughters. How can a man have sex with a brother? How can this boy escape his molester while this daughter is running for cover, being raped by a father or brother? That's why no one can live without Jehovah. Tell me what is going on with the youths in the land these days. I want to know what is going on. Oh, I call to the ancient of days. Tell me what is going on with the youths in the land these days. I want to know what is going on. Oh, I call to the ancient of days. Well, you done no righteousness exalted for nation, but sin is a reproach to every man. Listen to the words that we say, you know. I see men get dressed up like women. I see women dissing some men. I see little youths raised without fathers, while their mothers are hustling in strip clubs. Did you know that society is corrupting? Those you look up to are deceiving. Lawyers, doctors, pastors and leaders better get in line, or their blood is on your shoulders. I want to know what is going on with the youths in the land these days. I want to know what is going on. Oh, I call to the ancient of days. Tell me what is going on with the youths in the land these days. I want to know what is going on. Oh, I call to the ancient of days. Tell me, yeah. Tell me what to know, yeah. I really want to know. Help me. So many things are happening. So many things are happening, I say, yeah. The gunshots in the streets every day. Listen to the words I say. Listen to the words that I say. The cries in the streets, oh. I'm sending a warning, a prayer. I'm asking you, and the words that I say. What is going on? Tell me what is going on.
What is going on, St. Lucia? That question via song was asked by Emron Henry over 15 years ago. Today, the question still remains unanswered. For many who are observing from outside St. Lucia, it appears that we have a national crime crisis, one that requires a strong and decisive leadership and action to confront head-on. 70 now the homicide toll. We can confirm. Don, just put the image of the victim up for me one more time. We can confirm the victim's identity at this moment. The victim of the Dennery homicide is Filbert Daisy. Filbert Daisy, he is also known as Sean, the victim of a homicide number 770, that is homicide number 70, occurred just after midnight today, Thursday, December the 8th. Filbert Daisy, again, condolences to his family, friends, and loved ones. He's also known as Sean. Information coming in from our producers, it appears that this was a retaliation killing. We'll confirm with the authorities on St. Lucia. Once they are able to provide us with confirmation, we'll as well share it with you on Good Morning St. Lucia. As always, we encourage you to stay safe out there. 8:10 the time in Dominica and across the Eastern Caribbean. Next, I'll have on the platform a former government minister here in the Commonwealth of Dominica as we wind down today our coverage on what has been quite a unique election here in Roseau, Dominica. 19-2 is the election result, 19-6 to Roosevelt Scarrett's Dominica Labour Party, and 2 independents, one of which is married to a St. Lucia national. The other one, we're on standby. He says he should be able to talk his priority areas and his vision for Dominica and the Caribbean with us sometime next week. Jesma Paul, she won the constituency of Salisbury. She is actually married to a St. Lucia national. Stay with us. When we return, I'll have a former government minister on the platform. We go up until 9 o'clock. Serious times over in St. Lucia. It should be festive period as we wind down what has been a bloody year. It should be a very celebratory and festive mood in St. Lucia. Not so the case, but we still take the opportunity to wish you and yours happy holidays.
It's the most wonderful time of the year, and you can find the season's best at Courts. Save up to 50% store-wide, plus get free gifts with select purchases. Get the best brands, best prices, and more. Shop today with no cash and have 90 days to make your first payment, and choose your payment term from 3 to 48 months. The season's best is at Courts, bringing value home. Special conditions apply. Offer ends December 31st, 2022.
A young man from Bagatelle is dead. Calls on the public to not stigmatize his fatal accidents along the Pepsor Highway. From there, SHANNON welcomes the scrutiny of its CI. One man is in police custody following the shooting death of the wife of a police officer.
Look out for the midday news with Daniela Edwin on Hot 7 TV.
Mourning a loss? Hot 7 TV wants to help you celebrate the beautiful memory of your loved one with In Loving Memory, celebrating lives. Whether it's a birthday, a wedding anniversary, or some memorable occasion, or the anniversary of the passing of the dearly departed, Hot 7 TV will create a moving video tribute of that special person, showing how much he or she meant to you. Treasured memories, unforgettable moments. Share them with the world and repeat the airing as often as you'd like. Help keep your loved one's memory alive forever in the minds and hearts of all who care. In Loving Memory, celebrating lives. Contact us at telephone number 452-6040 or email us at inlovingmemory@caribbeanhottv.com.
We ready for the road. Yo, St. Lucia, it's your boy Pablo saying a wonderful good morning to you wherever you are. And don't forget, every weekday on Hot 7 from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. something called Vibes at Sunrise with your boy Shannon LeBourne. Tune in to keep informed on the latest news and everything going around in the country. You don't know the vibes. Pablo in the building.
A young man from Bagatelle is dead and calls on the public to not stigmatize his fatal accidents along the Bexar Highway. From SHANNON welcomes the scrutiny of its CIA. One man is in police custody following the shooting death of the wife of a police officer.
Look out for the midday news with Daniela Edwin on Hot 7 TV.
Mourning a loss? Hot 7 TV wants to help you celebrate the beautiful memory of your loved one with In Loving Memory, celebrating lives. Whether it's a birthday, a wedding anniversary, or some memorable occasion, or the anniversary of the passing of the dearly departed, Hot 7 TV will create a moving video tribute of that special person, showing how much he or she meant to you. Treasured memories, unforgettable moments. Share them with the world and repeat the airing as often as you'd like. Help keep your loved one's memory alive forever in the minds and hearts of all who care. In Loving Memory, celebrating lives. Contact us at telephone number 452-6040 or email us at inlovingmemory@caribbeanhottv.com.
Hi folks, I travel quite a lot and would sometimes be out of the country for weeks at a time. The good news is that because of the internet and modern technology, I can always stay in touch with what's happening in St. Lucia. And when I do, my go-to site is Good Morning St. Lucia, Vibes at Sunrise with Shannon Empire LeBourne. Up-to-date news, good discussion, interesting guests, and a great host. What more could anyone ask for? My name is Richard Peterkin, and I endorse this message.
Thanks for staying with us here on Good Morning St. Lucia Vibes at Sunrise on this Thursday. My next guest, he's already on standby, and we'll patch him through in just a bit. Former Government Minister in the Commonwealth of Dominica, Mr. R.T. Martin, will join me in just a minute as we wind down our coverage here of the 2022 general election, which has been deemed a sham election by opposition observers and opposition forces here on the Commonwealth. However, the result has been accepted by the Electoral Commission of Dominica. We're also seeing and hearing of congratulatory messages pouring in from across the Caribbean and elsewhere as well. St. Lucia's Prime Minister, Philip Pierre, has issued a letter congratulating Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit on his election victory. Mr. Marta will join me right now. I understand that he is available. Let's see. Good morning and warm welcome. Thanks for agreeing to join us, Mr. Marta.
Well, good morning, and sorry for the delay because of my inability to access the video part of your broadcast.
The technology sometimes works out like that, but we're very pleased that you're on. We know you bring a valuable resource to the platform. Let's start
happy to help.
Excellent. Let's start off with your assessment of the events of Tuesday, December the 6th. How did you see it unfold?
Well, frankly, the events of Tuesday were not the most significant as far as I am concerned, because it was quite predictable what was going to happen when once it was going to be possible to conduct a poll of a population of 70,000 against a list of twice that number of names. When once it was going to be possible to conduct a poll without any means of identifying, of certifying the identity of the electors beyond that person simply saying their name, because we still do not have voter identification cards. It was not significant really, because we still had the incumbent blocking access to the national radio station. It was not surprising because we still had no accountability at all for the millions that were spent. By their own admission. The Dominica Labour Party had indicated they would be spending $21 million on what was just concluded on Tuesday. So for me personally, the outcome in terms of what you might call a sham election was not a surprise. My real concerns have to do with what are the implications, not just for us here in Dominica, but for the rest of the region. And that is what I would like to ask us to sort of focus a little bit on. Because you see, although we are a region, we like to think of ourselves as one region, we behave as if we might as well, some of us be in the Pacific, some in the Indian Ocean, some in the Atlantic Ocean. We seem not to care about the safety and protection of the much valued, ethics and cultures and governance systems of our respective islands. We seem not to care what goes on. I heard you talking about the murders in St. Lucia. Dominicans don't show any real, have no reaction to that, because we don't see St. Lucia being an intimate, close cousin.
Yeah. You're absolutely correct, Mr. Marta. So let's continue down that road for a minute or two. You've had an election campaign that has been marred by calls for reform. However, it seemed to have received limited attention or support from regional institutions, policymakers, and governments. The media was focused, but not much support from those groupings. However, immediately on the heels of the election and a winner being declared, you're seeing and hearing of congratulatory messages coming from these very institutions and governments. Is there something wrong with that approach? Is Mr. Marta on? Mr. Marta, good morning. Can you hear me? We're on live in Amoroso, Dominica, with former government.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Excellent. So I was asking, sir, if you heard...
I heard your question.
You heard the question.
Yeah, that is much more significant than what unfolded on Tuesday here in Dominica. It is the hypocrisy, the double standards of the region's institutions and leaders. They will remain silent. In fact, they colluded in 2019 to send the regional security system forces to Dominica the night before, the day before an election. And now they have the gall, the guts to actually stand up and congratulate somebody who has openly stolen another election. And that is why we in the Caribbean cannot have any respect for leadership. No respect for governance and its institutions, because the leaders throughout the region, from Mia Motley to Ralph Gonzalez to Gaston Brown to your guy there in St. Lucia now, etc., even if they have all had the experience of being in opposition, being in the disadvantageous position, they all rush to give a claim and praise and congratulations to anybody who's won, no matter how. And so they wonder why the people of the Caribbean have so little regard and respect for their leaders. Because the leaders are behaving like gangsters. A gangster likes any other gangster and hates every police officer. And that's the behavior of our region. We fail as a result of that behavior to come together when it really matters around issues of democracy. That is why democracy is on this dying bed in the Caribbean. How can you talk to people about democracy when you actually are supporting people who are tyrannical and are unraveling what's left of the democratic process? People who are conducting elections without any attention to making sure that if I say my name is Don LeBourne, that I can verify that. You go to the bank to cash a check. In most cases, you now have to give 2 forms of identification. But to go and vote for a government in Dominica, you don't have to identify. I simply can go and say, my name is Don LeBourne, and they'll give me a ballot and send me to vote. So understand that by giving congratulations to somebody who says they win a poll like that, the other leaders and institutions in the Caribbean are basically ensuring the demise of what left of democracy. The people can have no respect for a system that they know is flawed, that they know is tainted, in the words of the Caribbean Court of Justice, who said that no elections in Dominica should be conducted under the present circumstances of the electoral system. And so here again, our leaders who accede to the authority of that court, the CCJ, are openly defying the studied opinion of that very court. So how can we be unraveling regional institutions of such importance and expect the Caribbean people and the Caribbean society to survive and grow and prosper? That is what those leaders are doing. Every single last one of them are doing that. And I go further. Here we have a situation. There's a global biodiversity conference on now going on. There was the COP27 on climate change. Those issues, do you ever wonder why the Caribbean never has been able to assemble a regional set of initiatives to look after the regional climate issues and biodiversity issues? And it is because everybody wants their own little kingdom. The people in St. Lucia want their kingdom, so don't interfere. And if you don't interfere, they will not interfere in your little kingdom. So it's tyrants supporting tyrants. I mean, we need to openly admit that. We wonder why the young people in our respective islands are engaging in such wanton violence against each other. It's because we have unraveled a picture of a Caribbean society that is good and just and kind and prosperous. What we see is that the leaders, by extension the media in the Caribbean, has perpetuated the image that we in the Caribbean, we just calypso people, all we want is some fat, some rum, we wind down the place, and somebody put some money in our pocket. We don't care where the money comes from or who put it in our pocket. That is the Caribbean. You see, it's that wanton lack of discipline, lack of focus that keeps us where we are. Look at our food reports, and our disease, chronic non-communicable diseases. Those things are wiping out segments of our population. We're eating bad food. We're importing over $4 billion worth of food annually into a region that used to export food. And the leaders have nothing to say about that. Everybody's on their own little frolic. Barbados trying to solve its problems. They're the one trying to solve its problems. But they're not realizing there's such a thing as critical mass. There's such a thing as getting to that critical point in a process whereby coming together, we would do it much better. William Dimas, Eric Williams, Norman Govan, Carl Stone, George Beckford, all these luminaries of thought that tried to teach the Caribbean that we must act as one. It is only when we do that we do best. When we had the World Championship cricket team in the West Indies, that was because we had people who understood and lived a single Caribbean focus. But today, my brother, what you have 15 members of CARICOM, you have 15 tyrants, 15 people who just want to be left alone to be their own gangsters and go and do their own thing and don't interfere with them. And that attitude has permeated through the entire society, which is why people cannot even work together.
Yeah, but
sports is there.
Have we, Mr. Marty, as a citizenry, allowed this to happen because we become too reliant of political institutions and politicians, to be frank?
Well, we didn't just become reliant automatically. It wasn't our institutions were dismantled by those who wanted us to become more dependent on them. We had farmers' institutions. I worked in St. Lucia, St. Vincent, Grenada, Jamaica, with farmers' organizations in the 70s and 80s. And I knew how strong they were. Okay? I worked with trade unions throughout the region, from the oil field workers trade union, where I did training sessions for them many times, all the way up the islands. So I know what the region was like when we had strong institutions that were non-governmental, that were civic society institutions, community-based institutions. The politicians who came into office realized that was a countervailing force to them, which is exactly what they were meant to be. If you don't control the authority and power in the hands of one person, because the human being is in the nature of who and what he or she is, they will take more power. You give them an inch, they'll take a yard. So these civic institutions were critical to protecting and preserving democracy. So they dismantled them. They recruited the leaders of these institutions, trade unions, youth groups, women's organizations, into party politics. And so they cut the head off of these institutions that were the key to maintaining and growing our democracy. And they wonder today why people are so anti-democratic. They don't even know what the word means. It's because the politicians dismantled.
I accept that, Mr. Marty, but again it goes back to my point, and I hope I'm not pressing you too much here, but we as the citizens, we stayed silently and we allowed the politicians to dismantle all of those critical regional institutions.
Because we are all products of our environment. And while there are in each island, you can find only a small remnant of what you would call a radical revolutionary element. In each island it's there, in Grenada, in St. Vincent, Dominica, it's few of us left. We are a dying breed. Because, in fact, the entire environment shifted gears away from celebrating the power of the people, although we used to say that, power to the people, but it had to be my people in my party as opposed to the people. So we worked hard to resist those things. That is what the 1970s and 80s in the Caribbean was about. It was about people in communities, at the grassroots, on the ground, recognizing that the politicians were beginning to dismantle the people's institutions, and we fought back. We stood up and we attempted to build and rebuild and strengthen our organizations, but they used the power of our own state against us from money to opportunity to redesigning and reshaping and misshaping the education system. Look at the primary and secondary school curricula that it is available to our children and grandchildren today. They don't teach them anything about it. I mentioned the names of Dimas and Govan and Beckford. People are in university today in the Caribbean and they do not know who those people are. They have no idea. They don't read their writings, so they disconnected people from their own culture, from their own society. Listen to radio stations throughout the region. All of that was part of the dismantling process. You don't hear patois. You don't hear Creole music as much as you hear pop or whatever it is, or whatever. So people are more in tune with what is going on external to the society than what's going on right on the doorstep. If you ask any 5 people in Dominica or the region today, what is the situation in the World Cup, FIFA World Cup today, they will know. But you ask them, what is the situation in St. Lucia today? How many murders? They have no idea what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
So while yes, it is true, we are the champions that have to stand up and fight and preserve our cultural, political, and social identity. Understand that the forces arrayed against us are enormous. That is what we have experienced here in Dominica. Millions of dollars of this money that are in the control of the finance minister, who happens to be the person who is the prime minister in Dominica, are used to campaign against the very people whose taxes as VAT and duties and so on pay money into the treasury. So understand that unless you have a radicalization, radicalization of the population, we will lose it all. We haven't lost it all yet, but we're quickly losing it. And elections have become, if you will, the showcase window that is revealing to us what has happened and is continuing to happen in our society. Every time you have an election, you see big music, big crowds, shirts, t-shirts, banners, and millions of dollars being spent. But you go around the corner from the main road and you find people in rundown homes. People still living in homes without plumbing, without electricity, not far from where the big rallies are taking place, and so on. People go to hospital and the hospital doesn't have this medicine or that medicine or that piece of equipment, but they have millions to pay. In our case, you have a sound trucks with big PA systems on them. And for 3 weeks of just driving around and paying music, you know what they were paid? Each one of them were paid 20,000 EC dollars. 20,000 EC dollars for 3 weeks of making noise in the head of the elderly and the infirm and the disabled people of the country. So our priorities have become distorted. But it didn't happen naturally. It's not as a result of the falling from the sky. It is individuals, politicians, businessmen who have found interest in that kind of reordering of our society, professionals, lawyers, doctors, economists, and all of us who went to university and were supposed to come back and help build our region. We became part of the destructive force of our region. So our children are wayward. They have no idea who they are. What is the history of the Caribbean? What is our connection with Grenada, St. Vincent, St. Lucia, Martinique, Guadeloupe, etc.? They have no idea. They know more about New York, Boston, Miami, Tampa, and than they know about Castries, than they know about Miku.
You're absolutely correct. And the evidence of the the approach to break up regional institutions which supported that sort of connectivity that you speak to is still all around us. We no longer have a regional Caribbean link up in terms of sharing of information on news developments. That used to be a big and popular thing which assisted in connecting us. I want to stay on this subject for a little while, Mr. Marte. Obviously, the change will not come with the politicians. How and where can we start to engender that sort of radical movement that you speak of?
Well, it takes me back to your family. You see, your father, Daniel LeBourne, in every island there are a few Danleys. We have to find those Danleys. We have to find their sons like you, who appear to be following a bit in his footsteps. And we have to nurture, and we have to protect, we have to encourage, we have to invest in you. We have to invest in that new society that we want to recapture and rebuild here in the Caribbean. And we do that by being vocal in the face of attacks from those who would wish that we were silent. By being insistent upon high standards of professional ethics in all the professions, not just doctors and lawyers, but engineers, foresters, agronomists. There must be high standards. How can you have people like we have here who have been trained and gone to university for 5, 6, 7 years, come back, they're fully professional, and they sit down and they take instructions from somebody who happens to be a minister who they refer to as honorable. But that minister has no idea about forests, and he's giving instructions.
I'm so happy that you went down that path, Mr. Marte. So, because that takes me to my next question that I'll ask quickly. Based on what you just said, have we become a region of qualified derelicts?
Of qualified what? I didn't hear that.
Of qualified derelicts. Mr. Marte is still with us? No, we'll have to connect with Mr. Marte. I'm told we'll do so momentarily. Stay with us. A very intriguing discussion. We're not focused much on the election result here in Dominica. He is of the view, and I agree, the issues now is bigger and speaks to the implications for the wider Caribbean based on the trends that we see in surrounding electoral processes and the holding of elections in the Caribbean region. So there's a bigger discussion that we're having this morning. He's a former government minister. He had responsibility for the agriculture portfolio, having previously served in the Dominica Labour Party administration. He also served under the Freedom Movement government here in Dominica as well. Ate Marte, well respected here in Dominica and across the Caribbean, very vocal and independent advocate for democracy, independent advocate for human rights, equality, and for proper governance. Anticipate a quick reconnection with Ate. If my co-producer is on, just ask Mr. Marte to reconnect with the invite, and we will bring him back shortly. Is he on back? Not as yet. Stay with us. We go up until 9. Still some time to go. Perhaps it makes sense for us to go back to Master Control for a quick commercial break, just about 60 seconds or so, and then we will reconnect with Mr. Ate Marte, former government minister in the Commonwealth of Dominica. Intriguing discussion on the implications for the Caribbean region based on what we've seen with elections here in our Caribbean. Stay with us. Our discussion will continue momentarily.
Ooh la la! See what's new at Courts. We've got great deals on living and dining room sets, appliances, electronics, and smart devices, and more. Shop today with no cash using Courts Ready Finance, 3 to 48-month payment plans available. Shop in-store or online at shopcourts.com. Come see what's new and take advantage of these great deals only at Courts. Bringing value home. Conditions apply.
young man from Bagatelle is dead and calls on the public to not stigmatize his instinctive death of the wife of a police officer.
Look out for the midday news with Daniela Edwin on Hot 7 TV.
Mourning a loss? Hot 7 TV wants to help you celebrate the beautiful memory of your loved one with In Loving Memory, celebrating lives. Whether it's a birthday, a wedding anniversary, or some memorable occasion, or the anniversary of the passing of the dearly departed, Hot 7 TV will create a moving video tribute of that special person, showing how much he or she meant to you. Treasured memories, unforgettable moments. Share them with the world and repeat the airing as often as you'd like. Help keep your loved one's memory alive forever in the minds and hearts of all who care. In Loving Memory, celebrating lives. Contact us at telephone number 452-6040 or email us at inlovingmemory@caribbeanhottv.com.
Hi folks, I travel quite a lot and would sometimes be out of the country for weeks at a time. The good news is that because of the internet and modern technology, I can always stay in touch with what's happening in St. Lucia. And when I do, my go-to site is Good Morning St. Lucia, Vibes at Sunrise with Shannon, Empire LEBOURNE. Up-to-date news, good discussion, interesting guests, and a great host. What more could anyone ask for? My name is Richard Peterkin, and I endorse this message.
La la! See what's new at Courts. We've got great deals on living and dining room sets, appliances, electronics, and smart devices, and more. Shop today with no cash using Courts Ready Finance, 3 to 48-month payment plans available. Shop in-store or online at shopcourts.com. Come see what's new and take advantage of these great deals, only at Courts. Bringing value home. Conditions apply.
A young man from Bagatelle is dead and calls on the public to not stigmatize his fatal accidents along the Bexar Highway. From there, SHANNON welcomes the scrutiny of its CIA. One man is in police custody following the shooting death of the wife of a police officer.
Look out for the midday news with Daniela Edwin on Hot 7 TV.
Mourning a loss? Hot 7 TV wants to help you celebrate the beautiful memory of your loved one with In Loving Memory, celebrating lives. Whether it's a birthday, a wedding anniversary, or some memorable occasion, or the anniversary of the passing of the dearly departed, Hot 7 TV will create a moving video tribute of that special person, showing how much he or she meant to you. Treasured memories, unforgettable moments. Share them with the world and repeat the airing as often as you'd like. Help keep your loved one's memory alive forever in the minds and hearts of all who care. In Loving Memory, celebrating lives. Contact us at telephone number 452-6040 or email us at inlovingmemory@caribbeanhottv.com.
Good morning, St. Lucia. Vibes at Sunrise. An informative, enlightening, stimulating package. It can be taken as your morning cup of tea. Fortuna Anthony endorsing Vibes in the Morning.
on this Thursday's edition of Good Morning St. Lucia Vibes at Sunrise. Shannon LeBourne over in Dominica, and we're here with former government minister Mr. R.T. Martyr, who is quite vocal on issues which continue to affect our Caribbean region. We're focusing this morning on the implications for the Caribbean and Caribbean development based on the trends that we're monitoring in and around government administrations and electoral processes. Mr. Martyr, you're back with us, correct?
Yes, I'm hearing you clearly, very clearly.
We had an intriguing discussion on what we've witnessed happening in the Caribbean, the dismantling of institutions which have supported the connectivity of our Caribbean region and the integration of the Caribbean for many years. I was asking the question before we lost connection. Based on those trends, have we become a region of qualified derelicts? Because we have so many qualified people who sit by idly and say nothing, apparently supporting the dismantling of these institutions.
Yeah, that is true. Qualified derelicts, yes, but even derelict cars are recycled and converted into something useful. So all hope is not lost. We can recycle and convert the derelict into something useful, and that is what I would like to spend whatever little time we have left focusing on.
Sure.
I think if we in the Caribbean could once again focus our attention and target our resource investments on a Caribbean development project, a vision that people like George Odlum used to have when he spoke about one Caribbean. You know, if we can focus on that, I'll give you some examples. Once we can refocus on that Caribbean agenda for prosperity, then I believe we will not so easily fall victim to the gangsters and tyrants who now find themselves in the leadership of our respective islands and countries and regional institutions. For example, I mentioned earlier food. The Caribbean can resolve its food dependence problem, its bad food and hence wellness challenge, by focusing on something we had before, the Caribbean Food and Nutrition Program, which existed back in the 80s. We need to resuscitate a coordinated regional approach guided by institutions like the School of Agriculture at UWI, the various schools of agriculture and training of technical personnel and training of technical personnel and training of technical personnel. This cricket team worked well together. Our teams can also work well together and ensure that in a steady fashion we gradually increase our production of high quality nutritious foods, moving towards naturals and organics, etc., and gradually reduce our dependence on imported food, save that foreign exchange for things that we really cannot produce. So we need a Caribbean regional food and nutrition project with elements of it, arms of it in the different countries. We did have a Caribbean food plan where we had in fact located the countries in the region, what they were best suited for, what islands were best suited for root crops like yams, tanyas, dasheen, and so forth, what others were suited best for spices, what others were suited best for fruit crops, tree crops, etc. We have all that. That's where we were headed. But that plan got derailed. If we can put that plan back on track, we wouldn't have time to be going after each other and dick-calling each other, as we say in Creole. That's one example. Take culture and music and art. You all had a folk research center in St. Lucia, which actually was a sample, and in fact we in Dominica built on that, applied that template to creating our own folk research activities here. And the same happened in Antigua. The same happened in Grenada and so forth. So but we needed to bring it together as we had started. We had started, all these cultural workers had started working together, writing each other's plays, editing, acting in each other's plays, etc., etc. So it meant that there was no time for foolishness. There was time only to be productive in your respective fields. Take the steel pan music, the steel pan movement. In every island of the Caribbean today, there's a steel band. There's steel band music. But have we graduated to the point where we have a Caribbean regional steel pan institute, where the research that Trinidad is doing into new types of metals and new designs and so on will be spread and shared with our local scientists, etc. Or the teaching of music. Every primary school in the Caribbean needs to have a steel band program. So where you teach music, but using an indigenous Caribbean instrument, instead of allowing Japan and Sweden and Norway and the United States to sort of take over the front edge, the front line of that important innovation of the Caribbean. That's another sample. Take housing. We all need housing. We need thousands of our people to be properly housed. But we need housing that is designed to deal with our local conditions. It's designed to create jobs, not to create new import streams. In design, we need to create jobs in architectural design, in materials development. Why don't we have today, if you will, prefabricated housing components that are built using materials that we now have?
Let me attempt to answer that question, Mr. Martin. Why don't we? Perhaps, and you provide some addition to the answer. Is it perhaps these initiatives, structures, and systems are in support of good people and perhaps not good politics?
Exactly. You put your finger on it, my brother. That's why I say you are LEBOURNE. You are a LEBOURNE. You put your finger on it. Because that's what happened. And that is why it's not going to be easy to do any of these things that I'm suggesting, Even the culture, the art, and the music and so on. It's not going to be easy because it's under pressure from elements and forces in our society that would rather see us identify ourselves as appendages to other people's culture than as the creators of our own culture. And in fact, the people who most want to see that happen are the persons in our society who don't want us to have a high sense of self-worth, which means that we wouldn't be easily fooled. We cannot be easily bought. We cannot be swayed by somebody putting $500 in our pocket. We cannot be bought by music and fried chicken and rum and so forth, because our eyesight, our mind sight is on something more elevated, of more value. And so, yes, you are right. People who want to hold on to power for power's sake will want to dismantle and prevent any movement in the direction of regional addressing of these problems. That is at the heart of it. And where does that, how do we restart that engine? We have the engine. How do we restart? We restart that engine by restoring the links. That is why programs like yours, Good Morning St. Lucia, because you're reaching out to other islands and you're letting St. Lucians stay in St. Lucia. And you can learn about what's going on in Dominica. You can know that there still are people throughout the region who are thinking that way, who value the Caribbean, not just our individual islands, because we understand being an island state in the Caribbean is an accident of history. It's an accident of history. Our ancestors were brought here, on a slave ship, and they dropped some here, they dropped some over there, they dropped some there, and so on. So we are accident, but we have converted that accident, like the derelicts of the society, into something of value, something unique, something that the rest of the world spends millions to have a little bite of, but we are not protecting it. And so if we don't protect it, we're going to lose it. And so I believe if the politicians of our region were articulating such a vision, were promoting and developing policies, programs. If the phenomenon of political manifestos in the Caribbean could be seen to eventually reflect that one vision of a Caribbean, even if it was presented to the people of Barbados or St. Vincent and so forth, but it reflected one vision, we would have a region that gradually worked itself back to being together and acting together.
Unfortunately, Mr. Marte, it reflects the vision and the wants of those who finance the campaigns and who finance the political regimes. Lastly, let's end there, and in our quest to shift the goalposts and to turn things around here in the Caribbean, dealing with matters of campaign financing is critical in that mission that we're speaking of now.
Absolutely, absolutely, as a matter of fact, because whereas 40 years ago, one could say, yes, it was local businessmen and local professionals making donations to a political party for their campaign and expecting to be compensated for that. At the very least, it was local. But you know who it is today? It is Chinese, it is Russians, it is Arabs of one sort or another. It is businessmen who have no links to any of the islands in which they are financing. That's part of what it is. Yep. And you know what's sad about it? Listen to the real tragedy of campaign financing, particularly in the case of Dominica. We have this thing called CBI, right? The Citizenship by Investment Program, where politicians who should be protecting, if you will, the legacy of our ancestral struggles for independence and freedom, are instead selling it to the highest bidder. They're selling our passports, our identity, and they're not just selling Dominica's identity, because the passports we have are not Dominican passports.
It's stamped. It's also stamped with CARICOM. Yep.
They are CARICOM passports. So you have leaders now who openly are selling CARICOM identity. In other words, they're reinstituting slavery, of their own people by selling their people's identity. And guess what? They are taking that money and they are using that money to finance the bondage that they keep the people under. That's what's happened here in Dominica.
Dangerous times in the Caribbean, Mr. Marte. However, we've come to the end of the show today. Okay. I assure you we'll continue our discussion. I'm thinking along the lines of a One Caribbean connection, that sort of thing. But we will continue this discourse. It's very important, and we cannot continue to bow to the pressures and powers of those who would like to continue to see regional institutions diminish. So I want to thank you, Mr. Marte, for coming on this morning and sharing your insight and your wisdom with us. I personally will see you soon, and on this program our viewers will hear and see you again in the not too distant future.
Okay, my friend. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome.
Thank you very much. Congratulations to you and your dad on what is an extraordinary revitalization of Caribbean media and Caribbean journalism. Thank you so much for that.
You're most welcome. Our pleasure here on the platform. We're guarded, though, that there are those who perhaps do not wish to see the progress that we have and continue to make here on St. Lucia. But the mission is bigger than the high offices that they hold.
Absolutely. And, have a good day.
You yourself, they will not derail the efforts. We want to thank you for staying with us here throughout this morning's program and for supporting our broadcast here in Dominica during the last 72 hours. It's our final show here on the soil of the Nature Isle. We will be back home and on air from St. Lucia tomorrow morning from 6. I want to invite you to join us then. On behalf of my technical support team here on the island, Vitus Peter, as well as Malik Francis, and a master control back in St. Lucia, the technical team of Dan and Kay, our producers Lennox, as well as the supervisory team at Master Control Mount Fortune. Those who've supported this mission, we say a very special thank you to you. Of course, we know that you do not wish for your names to be mentioned, but we say thank you to you for getting us down into Dominica and for us to share this connection with the people of St. Lucia across the Caribbean and the world. We'll be back on television in St. Lucia tomorrow, 6 a.m. I want to invite you to join us then. Until then, take good care of yourselves and each other.